last major topic that made me happy, and it made me, like I said, I told you, it made 14-year-old me happy. Was the death of Robin. Woohoo! All right.
If memory serves, I mean, this was done. There was a poll for this, right? For the
Yep, it
death
was
of
a
Jason Todd.
900 number.
Yeah. Did you call in and say
Yes,
let's
I
kill
did.
him?
Yes, I did. I happily paid the $2 to kill Jason Todd. And a lot of people freaked out because they're like, oh, they're killing Robin. Oh, my goodness. They didn't realize, most of the normies, the non-comic collectors didn't realize we're on Robin number 2. We're not killing Dick Grayson. I remember when the news covered this, they would say, holy moly, or whatever. They would use one of the stupid captions from the show, and then they're like, they're killing Robin, and everybody was like, oh, how can you do this? You're killing Robin. They didn't realize that, no, Robin had been Nightwing for like 8 years already at that point. You weren't killing him, but the Robin was that was the headline. They used the name Robin, and a lot of people bought that book. And like I said, they made that book a very good seller. And like I said, you had I had it here somewhere. Hold on for a second. I thought I had the trade paperback. I think I sold it earlier when I was talking to somebody, but it had one of the trade paperbacks, the newsprint one, has the ad in there where you could dial, because what happened is at the end of issue 428, and let's get into it. And here we go. This is the collected edition. This is this is Batman 428 here. Here's all the covers. Get rid of this. You can see that this is book 104. So, and at the end of the episode that they left on the cliffhanger, which is there's an explosion at the end of it. I'll read you the synopsis from DC Fandom. All right, Death in the Family is a 4-part storyline written by Jim Starlin. By the way, Jim Starlin, the creator of Thanos and all these great things that you guys see, he did a lot of other stuff too. And he was one of the better Batman writers. Was written by Jim Starlin and illustrated by Jim Aparo. Published in 1988 on Batman Volume 1. The story provides one of the most shocking developments in Batman mythos as Jason Todd, the second Robin, is killed at the hand of Batman's archenemy, the Joker. The story is controversial in more ways than one, as it was a result of a social experiment. I can't even read it without laughing, because it shows you how sick kids we were. Social experiments by the producers of the Batman comics and their audience, in which people would have the last say regarding Robin's ultimate fate. The audience chose a boy wonder to die, and thus a legendary figure in comics was eliminated, bringing shock value and darker elements to comic book industry as a whole. Only to 3 or 4 years be softened by that soft Wonder Bread cartoon.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's another scream. So these are the covers. Actually, these is actually 428. These are some of the panels from there. And it starts out with, and this is him beating the hell out of him. And at the end of the episode, end of the issue that he dies in, and here's that. So I wish this would go away. Can't get that to go. But yeah, here you go. So that's him. I mean, he beats the hell out of him. Jason Todd is looking for his mother, and he gets information, from his old stepmother and all this. And it's, long story short, it's a trap by the Joker. And if you watch Titans, it was kind of like done the same lines. That's the Joker beating the hell out of him, and this was pretty brutal. There's no blood in here, but it's still, you still know what's going on. And let's see. All right, so and this would lead. This had long ranging consequences, because obviously the Red Hood would come from it, the Lazarus Pit and everything else. And if you read the Three Jokers, Jason Todd's a pivotal part of that story, and it's a great story. And I actually like Jason Todd better now than he was as a punk kid that was stealing Batman's hubcaps. That's how he got caught. He was stealing hubcaps off the Batmobile.
Yeah, he didn't have the greatest rep at first.
All right, so here it is, book 304. This was the issue that you had to buy. You didn't have to buy. You just needed to know the number. But at the back of this issue, there was a 1-900 number, and you had to pay $2. And it was either live or die. At the end of this issue, there's a huge explosion. Right after he beats up Robin, he sets explosives off in the building that him and his mother are in. And that's how they left it. And you didn't know until The very next episode, or why do I keep saying episode? The very next issue, and here's some of the yeah. See, there's Jim Aparo's Batman, by the way, not the best Batman. I don't think Jim Aparo was the greatest artist of all time, but so there you go, right here. And then when you opened up the next issue after they had tabulated everything, this is what you saw. You saw him carrying Robin, the dead Robin, and that's how you knew he was dead. And Batman lets you know as much, so you know he's just no, But as you can see from his body, he was beaten, beaten nearly to death by the crowbar, but it's the explosion that kills him. And like I said, that was a pretty big deal back then. This is when things like this for Batman happened. When you killed major characters, even though he was the number 2 Robin, he's still Robin. Just the implication that you would kill Robin, and the things that they did in 1988. 1988 would, to me, besides 1986, was a banner year as far as the progression and rehabilitation of Batman. He went from a joke that he was for a long time, that a lot of people knew him from because of the TV show and Super Friends and all that, to being the badass that he was, that you would know him to be throughout the 80s and into the 90s. And it opened, and the Dark Knight opened the door for this. The Killing Joke was one of these storylines that happened in 1988, and then this. So if you look in a 2-year span, you had a much more brutal Batman on the pages of these comics. And then you had, which at the time, Batman 89, which in comparison to other Batman live action portrayals, was a much darker tone Batman. And a lot of what allowed that to even happen was stories like this, stories like The Dark Knight Returns, stories like The Killing Joke, stories like, Batman Year One, Batman Year Two. These are the type of stories that led into what I call, the Renaissance of Batman. Now, a lot of that was undone, with Batman the animated series. But like I said, I digress. I'm only going to speak about things that make me happy. And with Matt Reeves' Batman, we've kind of undone that Wonder Bread attitude that they had in the 90s. But yeah, this storyline was big, man. It was big. There's a lot of storylines that literally can draw their lineage directly to this storyline. Anything with Red Hood in it, anything with Jason Todd in it, anything that has him in it is tied back to this. The way obviously Tim Drake, his successor.
Yeah, one of the my earlier exposures when I first started reading comics as a kid was my dad actually when he was serving in the Gulf War, he actually, before he left, he had gotten me the collected edition of the Robin when Tim Drake, his story
A Prayer for the Dying.
Robin.
A Prayer for the Dying is what it's called, by the way.
Yeah, I that was always really near and dear to my heart as a kid. And that of course he's seen kind of the ghost of Jason Todd when that part of the beginning when Batman, he has to go rescue him and defy his order to not put on the Robin suit. It's like he's in trouble. Scarecrow's got him. And that again that ties into Batman's trepidation about having a new Robin with what happened to Jason Todd.
Yeah, and it would last, by the way, all the way up to Damian. What happens to Jason Todd would always haunt Bruce. Even in the movies, even Zack Snyder. I mean, they used the death of Robin because he's endangering a minor, by the way. But hey, that would never happen in real life. That's why I'm not a big fan of having Robin in real life, because I'm like, wait a minute, he's endangering a minor, but that's fine. But even Damon, how he feels about Robin and the necessity of a Robin. And I remember during that storyline that you're telling that came right after this in 1992, 1993, A Prayer for the Dying, where Tim Drake is talking to Alfred, and he says, "I don't even know if this is the right decision. Does Batman even need a Robin?" And Alfred says he always needs a Robin, and because what Robin at the time represents the light that Batman couldn't be, he needed to be reminded of the of his. It's not just a sociopathic crazy guy going around beating up people. He needs that balance, and that's the whole point of what Robin was for him. So if you look at the way Robin is approached from this point on, it's always that sense of reality that you could get this kid killed. And Tim Drake was actually, My favorite Robin, I'm sorry, is gonna be Damian. I love Damian beats the hell out of people. He has to hold back killing people. The Joker found out the hard way that he is not to be messed with. He beat the shit out of the Joker with a crowbar, ironically. And he's a Robin that is capable of pretty much holding his own against just about anybody because of the training. But Tim Drake was a better detective. Tim Drake was smarter. Tim Drake figured things out. So everything starts though with this right here, because the audacity to kill Robin, even if it was the second Robin or the 10th Robin, didn't matter. The general public saw Robin dying. That's all they knew. And I remember being around for the storyline. This was, out of all the stories that I've said that are turning points, this one was a huge turning point for the way Batman was being written at the time. 1988, the year alone, was a huge turning point for Batman. So there you go. Any thoughts on that one? I know you were what -2 when this came out.
I probably would have been about a year old at the time. Yeah. So and yeah, I mean, yeah, like William's saying, I mean, this was a big. You talk about like really pivotal Batman stories. I mean, the Dark Knight Returns. That's always one I'll put right at the top of that, even though it's more of an Elseworlds. But yeah, the death of Jason Todd. I mean, I wasn't old enough to call the number, and so I kind of a lot of my life I've mainly known Jason, through his his subsequent resurrection and all that. But yeah, I mean, William, there's not a lot I can add.
Listen, I'm tired of having people on the air. This is he's making me feel old. So that was the last you're ever going to see of Brad Curran. Everybody in the chat say goodbye to Brad. He's literally making me feel like a grandpa right now.
So, yeah, sorry about that.
I'm just kidding.